had worked in the Galactic Union's Office of Planetary Classification for 3,000 years. He had seen files from millions of worlds. He had read about planets made of diamond, worlds with oceans of acid, and moons where it rained glass. Nothing surprised him anymore. Or so he thought. His office was a small room on the 47th floor of the Union's central building. The walls were covered with screens showing data from across the galaxy. Himself was a tall, thin creature with 4 eyes and skin, so pale you could see his organs moving inside. His species, were known for their perfect memory and attention to detail. That was why they made the best archivists. Today was supposed to be a normal day. A young species called humans had recently discovered faster-than-light travel and made contact with the Union. There, a small blue planet called Earth needed to be added to the official records. Simple work, boring work. Opened the file and began reading. The first few pages were standard. Earth was the 3rd planet from its star. It had 1 moon. The surface was 70% water. The dominant species had 2 arms, 2 legs, and lived for about 80 years. Nothing special. Then reached the section on planetary history. He stopped. He read it again. He read it a 3rd time. His assistant, a young named, found him 3 hours later, was still sitting at his desk, staring at the screen. He had not moved. He had not blinked. "Sir," said carefully, "are you feeling well?" Did not answer. "Sir, the human delegation has arrived. They are waiting in the interview room for their intake meeting." Slowly turned to look at her. His 4 eyes were wide. His hands were shaking. He said quietly, "Did you read this file?" "No, sir. I only processed the basic data." "Read it," pointed at the screen. "Read the section on extinction events." Walked over and looked at the screen. After a moment, she made a small sound of confusion. "Sir, I think there is an error in the data. This cannot be correct." "I checked it 7 times. It is correct." Read the numbers again. Her skin, normally a soft pink color, turned white. "This is impossible. No world could survive this." "And yet," said, standing up slowly, "the humans are waiting for us right now, very much alive." The interview room was a large circular space with comfortable chairs arranged around a central table. The walls showed a calming image of a forest from a peaceful world. Soft music played in the background. The 2 humans sat on one side of the table. They looked relaxed, almost bored. The first human was a man named Park. He was large and muscular, with short black hair and a face that looked like it had been carved from stone. He wore a military uniform covered in small metal badges. According to his file, he had served in something called the Korean Marines for 15 years. The second human was a woman named. She was smaller than, with long black hair tied back in a simple style. She wore a white coat and carried a small computer tablet. She was a scientist who studied alien life forms. Sat down across from them. His hands were still shaking. He tried to hide it. "Thank you for coming," he said. "This interview is a standard procedure for all new species joining the Galactic Union. I will ask you some questions about your world and your people. Please answer honestly." Nodded, of course. Looked at his list of questions. Most of them suddenly seemed pointless. He skipped ahead to question 47. "How many extinction-level events has you experienced?" And looked at each other, pulled out her tablet and started checking something. "You mean this week or overall?" she asked. Felt his heart stop, both of them at the same time. Behind him dropped her datapad. It hit the floor with a loud crash. I mean overall," managed to say. Looked at her tablet and made a thinking sound. "Well, if we are talking about major extinction events, there are 5 big ones. But there are also many smaller events that killed large amounts of life. Do you want me to list all of them?" "Please," whispered. Nodded. "Okay. First was the Ordovician-Silurian extinction, about 445 million years ago. Around 85% of all species died. Then came the late Devonian extinction, about 375 million years ago. That one killed about 75% of species. Then we had the big one. The big one, repeated. The Permian-Triassic extinction. We call it the Great Dying. It happened about 252 million years ago. 96% of all species on Earth died. Felt sick. His species had almost gone extinct once, when a disease killed 30% of their population. It had taken them 200,000 years to recover. They still had monuments and holidays dedicated to that tragedy. And this woman was talking about losing 96% of all life like it was nothing special. "Please continue," he said weakly. After that was the Triassic-Jurassic extinction, about 201 million years ago. Around 80% of species died. And finally, the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction, about 66 million years ago. That one killed the dinosaurs, about 76% of all species. Who had been sitting quietly suddenly smiled. That last one was good for us, actually. Mammals were small and weak when dinosaurs were around. After they died, we got our chance. Stared at him. You are saying that the death of 76% of all life on your planet was good. Shrugged. For mammals, yes, very good. Looked at, she nodded in agreement. Every extinction event changed Earth, she explained. Old species died and new species took their place. Without those disasters, humans would never have existed. We are the children of catastrophe. Sat in silence for a long moment. His entire understanding of the universe was changing. He had always believed that life was fragile, that civilizations grew in safe places where nothing bad happened. But these humans came from a world that had tried to kill all life 5 times, and they were still here, smiling, making jokes. "I think," said slowly, "that I need to report this to my superiors." Leaned back in his chair. "Is there a problem?" "No," said, "not a problem, just, we have never met anyone like you before." Smiled warmly. "We get that a lot." News traveled fast in the Galactic Union. Within 3 days, everyone knew about Earth. Scientists talked about it in their laboratories. Politicians discussed it in their meetings. Children asked their parents about the strange blue planet where everything kept dying but nothing stayed dead. The story of interviews spread everywhere. Some people thought it was a joke, others thought it was a mistake in the data. But when researchers checked the information themselves, they found the same thing. Earth's history was real, all of it. Commissioner was the head of the Union's Biological Anomalies Division. His job was to study strange life forms and unusual planets. In his 2 million years of work, he had never called an emergency meeting. Until now. The meeting room was full. 17 different species had sent their best scientists. Some were tall and thin. Some were short and round. Some had wings. Some had tentacles. Some floated in special tanks of liquid because they could not breathe air. They all came to hear about Earth. Doctor stood at the front of the room. She looked tiny compared to some of the aliens, but her voice was steady and confident. Behind her, a holographic image of Earth floated in the air, slowly turning. "Thank you all for coming," she said. "I understand there has been some confusion about my planet's history. I am here to answer your questions." A being made of crystal raised one of its arms. Its name was, and it came from a species called the Doctor. "I have studied your file carefully. I must ask directly. Is it true that your planet has experienced 5 major extinction events?" "Yes," said simply, "that is correct." The room filled with worried sounds. Continued. "And you are saying that after each event where most life died, life somehow recovered?" "Not just recovered," said. "Life became more diverse, more complex, more interesting." She touched a button and the holographic Earth changed. Now it showed a timeline with 5 red marks on it. Each extinction event was terrible, explained. Millions of species died forever, but the species that survived found themselves in a new world, a world with empty spaces, empty jobs, you might say, and life always finds a way to fill empty spaces. She pointed to the first red mark. After the Ordovician extinction, fish became more common. After the Devonian extinction, animals started living on land. After the Permian extinction, the ancestors of dinosaurs took over. After the Triassic extinction, dinosaurs became the rulers of Earth. And after the Cretaceous extinction, mammals said quietly, "Your ancestors." Yes, nodded. Small, scared creatures hiding from giant reptiles. When the asteroid hit and the dinosaurs died, mammals finally had their chance. We grew bigger. We grew smarter. And eventually, one species of mammal learned to make tools, build cities, and fly to the stars. A being from the species spoke up. They looked like large gray slugs with dozens of small eyes. They were one of the oldest species in the Union. "This is madness," they said. Its voice was wet and gurgling. "On our world, we have avoided every danger for 8 million years. We built our cities underground where nothing could reach us. We never took risks. That is why we survived." Looked at them with interest. "And in 8 million years, how much has your species changed?" They was silent for a moment. "We have not changed. Why would we change? Change is dangerous." "For humans," said gently, "change is everything. We could not hide from danger. Our planet would not let us. So we learned to adapt instead. Every disaster taught us something new. Every catastrophe made us stronger." In the back of the room, Park stood with his arms crossed. He had been quiet during the presentation, letting do the talking. But now he spoke up. "Can I add something?" Nodded. Walked to the front of the room. He was not a scientist and he did not use complicated words. He spoke like a soldier. "I have seen the files on other species," he said. "Most of you come from safe worlds, stable worlds, worlds where the weather is always nice and nothing tries to kill you." He paused. "Earth is not like that. Earth has earthquakes that destroy cities, volcanoes that block out the sun, storms that flatten everything in their path, ice ages that cover half the planet in frozen water, and sometimes rocks fall from space and kill almost everything." The aliens watched him with wide eyes. "My grandmother used to say something," continued. "She said, 'What does not kill you makes you stronger.' I never really understood what she meant until I read about other planets. You see, humans are not strong because we are special. We are strong because Earth tried to kill us over and over again, and we refused to die." Commissioner raised his hand. He was a tall being with blue skin and 3 arms. "Lieutenant Park, you speak as if you are proud of this violent history." Thought about it. "I am not proud of the suffering. Many creatures died. That is sad, but I am proud that life kept going. I am proud that my ancestors survived. And yes, I am proud to be human." After the meeting ended, sat alone in his office. His assistant brought him a report. "Sir, we have found more information about Earth." Took the report and started reading. As he read, his blue skin turned pale. "Ice ages, supervolcanoes, asteroid impacts, gamma-ray bursts, solar flares, magnetic field reversals." The list went on and on. Earth had been hit by almost every disaster the universe could create. And humans had survived all of it. Put down the report. He looked out his window at the peaceful stars. "What have we found?" he whispered to himself. His assistant, a small creature with large ears, tilted its head. "Sir." "I have studied dead worlds for 2 million years," said. "Worlds that faced one extinction event and failed. Worlds that gave up. But these humans, they faced disaster after disaster and they just kept going." He turned to his assistant. "Earth is not a normal planet. It is a test. The hardest test the universe can create, and humans passed it." "What does that mean for the Union, sir?" Was quiet for a long time. "I do not know," he finally said, "but I think everything is about to change." Every species that wanted to join the Galactic Union had to pass a test. This was the rule, no exceptions. The test was designed to check if a species was ready for galactic civilization. It measured intelligence, problem-solving, and most importantly, the ability to stay calm under pressure. Most species were given 60 days to prepare. Some were given longer. The humans were given 3 days. Commissioner had argued for this decision. If their history is true, he told the council, they should be able to handle any challenge we give them. Let us see what they can really do. Some council members thought this was unfair. Others were curious. In the end, they agreed. The test location was Station, an old research station orbiting a dying red star. The station had been abandoned for 200 years. Its systems were broken. Its walls were cracked. The air inside was thin and cold. Parkin arrived on a small transport ship. They carried only basic supplies, food for 1 day, water for 1 day, and the clothes on their backs. An official from the Union met them at the airlock. He was a thin being with scales and a long tail. "Welcome to Station," he said. "Your test begins now. You must survive here for 72 hours. The station's life support will fail in stages. You will receive no help from outside. Do you understand?" Looked around the dark, dusty station. Broken wires hung from the ceiling. Strange sounds echoed through the empty halls. The air smelled old and dead. "This is nicer than my grandfather's apartment inn," he said. The official blinked in confusion. What?" "He is joking," explained with a small smile. "We understand the rules. We are ready." The official left and the airlock sealed behind him, and were alone. Outside the station, dozens of cameras watched everything they did. Thousands of Union officials observed from a safe distance. Everyone wanted to see how humans handled stress. Immediately started walking through the station, checking each room. She found expired food paste in the kitchen, a broken air cleaner in the engineering section, and several tanks of gas that nobody had used in centuries. "We can work with this," she said. Nodded. He was already studying the station's structure, looking for weak points and useful materials. "The heating will probably fail first. We need to prepare shelter." They worked together smoothly, like they had done this many times before, made lists of resources, built things with his hands. They talked little but understood each other perfectly. After 8 hours, the heating system failed. The temperature dropped quickly. Within an hour, it was cold enough to see their breath. The observers expected the humans to panic. They expected complaints, requests for help, or signs of fear. Instead, started pulling metal panels from the walls. He used emergency blankets to create a small shelter in the warmest part of the station. When that was not enough, he sat inside the shelter and used his own body heat to warm the space. "Humans are warm-blooded," explained to the cameras, knowing that officials were watching. "Our bodies create heat. Its body temperature is about 37 degrees. In a small space, that is enough to survive." At the Union Observation Center, scientists were taking notes furiously. They had never seen a species use its own biology as a survival tool in this way. On the second day, the water recycler broke. The small machine that cleaned and reused water simply stopped working. Without it, the humans would run out of drinking water in hours. Studied the problem. She found plastic sheets in a storage room. She hung them at angles on the walls. She put containers underneath. "What is she doing?" asked one of the observers. Within hours, water began dripping into the containers. The warm air from the humans' breathing hit the cold plastic and turned into liquid water. It was not much, but it was enough. "Condensation trap," explained a Union scientist who was watching. "Simple physics, but I have never seen anyone think of it under pressure like this." Then came the radiation leak. This was the second test. A hidden system released a small amount of radiation in the lower decks of the station. It was not enough to kill quickly, but staying near it for long would cause sickness. Found the leak within minutes. He could not see the radiation, but he noticed that his skin felt warm in certain areas. He followed the warmth to its source. "We have a problem," he told calmly. They had no special equipment, no radiation suits, no proper tools. Most species would have given up and called for rescue. Found emergency foam in a maintenance closet. It was designed to seal small holes in the station's hull. He used it to block the radiation source, spraying layer after layer until the readings on his tablet returned to normal. "How did you know to do that?" asked. "I read about a place called Chernobyl once," said. "When a nuclear reactor exploded on Earth, workers called liquidators went in to stop the radiation. Many of them died, but they saved millions of other people. I remembered what they did." The observers were silent. They had heard about nuclear power, but they did not know that humans had already experienced radiation disasters on their own world and learned from them. On the third day, the oxygen system failed. This was the final test. Without oxygen, the humans would die within hours. The air grew thin. Breathing became difficult. Most species would have collapsed by now. Worked on the broken air cleaner. Her hands shook from the cold and lack of oxygen. Her vision became blurry, but she did not stop. She took apart 3 different broken machines and used their parts to fix the air cleaner. It was not pretty. It was not elegant. But when she pressed the power button, the machine started working again. Fresh oxygen flowed into the station. Who had been doing exercises to keep his blood flowing took a deep breath. "Good job," he said simply. When the rescue team arrived, they expected to find 2 exhausted, desperate humans. Instead, they found doing push-ups in the shelter to stay warm. Was sitting nearby, writing notes on her tablet about the experience. "Is the test over?" asked. "Yes," said the rescue team leader. "You passed." Stood up and stretched. "Good, I am hungry. Is there food on your ship?" Later, Commissioner watched the recordings from the test. He watched them 3 times, looking for tricks or deception. He found none. "They did not panic," he said to his assistant. "Not once. When things went wrong, they just fixed them." "Perhaps they were not afraid," his assistant suggested. Shook his head. "No, they were afraid. I saw it in their eyes. But they did not let fear stop them. They kept working. They kept thinking. They kept surviving." He leaned back in his chair. "In 2 million years, I have never seen anything like it. These humans are not just survivors. They are something new, something the galaxy has never seen before." His assistant looked worried. "Is that a good thing, sir?" "Thought about it for a long time. I do not know yet," he admitted, "but I think we are going to find out." Earth was officially welcomed into the Galactic Union on a bright morning at the Central Station. Thousands of species sent their representatives to watch. It was the fastest acceptance in the Union's 12-million-year history. But not everyone was happy. In the dark corners of Union politics, worried voices began to whisper. They formed a group called the Preservation Alliance. Their goal was simple: protect the galaxy from dangerous species, and they believed humans were the most dangerous species they had ever seen. The leader of the Preservation Alliance was an ancient being named. He was one of the gray, slug-like creatures who had survived for 8 million years by hiding from every danger, had lived for nearly 1 million years himself. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched aggressive species destroy themselves in wars. Now he watched the humans with growing fear. "You are all making a terrible mistake," told the council. His wet, gurgling voice echoed through the chamber. "These humans are not like other species. They are not safe." Commissioner raised one of his 3 arms. "The humans passed every test. They have shown no signs of aggression. What exactly are you afraid of?" Slid forward, leaving a trail of slime behind him. His dozens of small eyes looked at each council member. "Let me tell you what I see when I look at humans," he said. "I see a species that has survived impossible disasters. Not once, not twice. 5 times their world tried to kill all life, and 5 times life came back stronger." He pressed a button and Earth's geological record appeared on the main screen. Red marks showed every extinction event, every ice age, every volcanic eruption. "Any normal species would have died," continued. "Any normal species would have given up, but humans did not give up. They do not know how to give up. That is what makes them dangerous." A representative from the collective spoke up. "With respect, Elder, that sounds like a strength, not a weakness." "It is both," replied. "Think about what this means. When humans face an obstacle, they do not go around it. They do not accept it. They destroy it. They overcome it. Because to them, every problem is just another extinction event. And they have been beating extinction events for millions of years." He turned back to the council. "What happens when humans decide they want something that belongs to another species? What happens when they see us as obstacles?" The chamber was quiet. "You are being paranoid," finally said. "Humans have been peaceful in every interaction." "For now," said, "but wait, watch, you will see." The council dismissed warnings. They called him old and afraid of change. Life continued normally. 6 months later, everything changed. The hegemony was an empire that had terrorized the outer edges of the galaxy for centuries. They were reptilian creatures, cold and cruel, bred for war over thousands of generations. Their ships were the fastest in the galaxy. Their weapons were the most powerful. They had never lost a battle. When they attacked 3 Union border worlds, everyone expected a long and bloody war. The Union began preparing for years of fighting. The humans asked to lead the response fleet. Many council members thought this was a joke. Humans had only been spacefaring for a short time. Their ships were small and simple. How could they fight the? But the humans insisted. And because they were new members eager to prove themselves, the council agreed. Captain Bay took command of the response fleet. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a calm voice. She had served in the Korean Navy on Earth before joining the Union military. Her file said she had never lost a battle either. The commander laughed when he saw the human leading the enemy fleet. He sent a message to Captain Bay. "Little creature," he said, "go home. This war is not for soft things like you. They have conquered 100 worlds. What have humans done?" Captain Bay's response was short: "Survived." The battle happened near a planet called Threshold 7 that had 50 ships. The Union fleet, led by Captain Bay, had 35. By all normal calculations, the Union should have lost. The battle lasted 4 hours. Afterwards, military experts from across the galaxy studied what happened. They watched the recordings hundreds of times. They still could not fully explain it. Captain Bay did not fight like other commanders. She did not use standard tactics. She did not follow the rules of space combat that every species had used for millions of years. Instead, she fought like a human. She sent small ships on suicide runs to distract the. She hid larger ships behind asteroids and attacked from unexpected angles. She used her own flagship as bait, letting the chase her while other ships destroyed their supply lines. When the commander realized what was happening, it was too late. His fleet was scattered. His flagship was surrounded. His escape routes were blocked. Captain Bay offered him one chance to surrender. He refused. His ship was destroyed 3 minutes later. When the battle ended, the Union had lost 8 ships. They had lost 47. Their empire never recovered. Captain Bay's after-action report was 3 sentences long. Enemy engaged, enemy defeated, requesting shore leave. News of the battle spread across the galaxy. Everyone talked about the human captain who had defeated the undefeatable. Called another meeting of the Preservation Alliance. His dozens of eyes were wide with fear. "Do you see now?" he asked. "Do you understand what I was warning you about?" One of his followers, a nervous creature with too many legs, spoke up. "But the humans saved those worlds. They protected the Union. How is that bad?" "Today they protected us," said. "But what about tomorrow? What happens when they decide they do not need the Union anymore? What happens when they see us as weak, as prey?" He pulled up images from the battle: burning ships, destroyed fleets, the cold, efficient destruction that Captain Bay had created. "Humans do not just win," said. "They dominate. They do not just survive. They conquer. This is a species shaped by constant disaster. They have no fear of death because death has been chasing them since the beginning of their history." He looked at his followers with his many eyes. "We must act now, before it is too late. We must find a way to stop the humans before they stop us." But even as spoke, he knew he was already too late. The humans had proven themselves. They had shown the galaxy what they could do. And the galaxy was watching with a mixture of awe and terror. On Earth, Park watched the news reports about Captain Bay's victory. He smiled. "Told you," he said to, "humans do not give up." Nodded slowly. She was happy about the victory, but she also saw something else in the galaxy's reaction, something that worried her. "They are afraid of us now," she said quietly. "Good," replied. "Fear keeps people honest." But was not so sure. She had studied history. She knew what happened when people became too afraid of something. They tried to destroy it. She hoped the galaxy would not make that mistake with humanity. But she also knew that if they did, humans would survive. They always survived. 10 years had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Union. In that short time, everything had changed. Human engineers had redesigned the Union's starship engines. The new designs were 40% more efficient. Ships could travel farther and faster than ever before. When asked how they had improved technology that had been the same for millions of years, the human engineers just shrugged and said, "We looked at the problem differently." Human doctors had developed cures for diseases that had killed other species for centuries. They approached medicine the same way they approached everything else, with desperate creativity born from a world that was always trying to kill them. Human artists had created paintings, songs, and stories that made alien beings cry. Creatures who had never felt emotion before suddenly understood what it meant to hope, to fear, to love. Human art spread across the galaxy like a beautiful virus, changing everyone it touched. But the greatest change was not in technology or medicine or art. The greatest change was in how the galaxy thought about survival. Doctor stood at the front of the Galactic Assembly. She was older now, with streaks of gray in her black hair, but her eyes were still sharp and her voice was still strong. She was no longer just a scientist. She was Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Union. Behind her, representatives from thousands of species filled the massive chamber. Some floated in tanks of water. Some hung from the ceiling. Some existed only as patterns of light. They had all come to hear what the human had to say. "For millions of years," began, "the Galactic Union has measured success by stability. You built civilizations designed to last forever without changing. You avoided risk. You hid from danger. You believed that the best way to survive was to never face any challenges." She paused and looked around the chamber. "Humans do not think that way. We cannot. Our world never gave us that choice." She pressed a button and Earth appeared behind her, blue and beautiful and... "Earth is not a gentle mother," continued. "It is a harsh teacher. It hit us with ice ages and volcanic eruptions. It threw asteroids at us and poisoned our air. It froze us and burned us and starved us. And every time we fell down, we got back up." A representative raised a crystalline arm. "Ambassador, why are you telling us this? We already know about Earth's history." Smiled, "Because I want you to understand something important. The galaxy is going to face more extinction events. Not maybe, certainly. Stars will explode. Galaxies will collide. Entropy will slowly tear apart everything we have built. This is not a question of if, but when. The chamber grew very quiet. You have spent millions of years trying to avoid this truth, said, hiding from it, pretending it will not happen, but it will happen. The only question is whether you will be ready. She spread her hands wide. Humans have spent our entire existence learning to survive disasters. We have practice, we have experience, and now we want to share what we have learned. In the back of the chamber, Admiral Park stood quietly. He was older too, his hair now more gray than black. He wore the uniform of the Union fleet, decorated with medals from a dozen campaigns. Beside him stood his wife, the representative he had met years ago at his first presentation. In his arms, their daughter slept peacefully. She was the first human hybrid ever born. Her skin was partly crystalline, like her mother's, but warm to the touch, like her father's. She had her mother's calm patience and her father's stubborn strength. She was proof that humans could build bridges, not just walls. Watched his old friend speak and felt proud, proud of her, proud of humanity, proud of how far they had come. The Galactic Union has been like a child, was saying, living in a safe house protected from every danger. But children must grow up eventually. They must learn to face the world as it truly is. She straightened her back and looked directly at the assembly. Humans are offering to be your teachers, not because we are better than you, not because we are stronger or smarter, but because we have already learned the hardest lesson the universe can teach, that survival is not about avoiding disaster. It is about getting back up after disaster knocks you down. The Assembly voted that day to create a new branch of the Galactic Union. They called it the Resilience Initiative. Its purpose was simple: to prepare every civilization for the worst and teach them how to survive it. The first director of the Resilience Initiative was a human. Elder watched the vote from his chamber. He had spent 10 years trying to convince the galaxy that humans were dangerous. He had failed. Now he watched as the same species he feared took control of the Union's survival planning. Part of him still believed he was right. Part of him still feared what humans might do with their power. But another part of him, a small part he had tried to ignore, felt something else. Hope. Maybe, he thought, the humans were not a threat. Maybe they were exactly what the galaxy needed. A species that had stared death in the face so many times that they no longer feared it. A species that could teach others how to do the same. He was too old to change his beliefs completely, but for the first time in his million-year life, allowed himself to consider the possibility that he had been wrong. Archivist sat in his office, updating Earth's file. He had started this whole story all those years ago when he first read about Earth's extinction events. Now he was adding the final notes to humanity's record. He typed carefully. Species human. Earth. Status active. Extinction events survived. 5 major, countless minor. Threat assessment, none. Notes: they are not a threat to the galaxy. They are its best hope. He saved the file and leaned back in his chair. Through his window, he could see a human cargo ship passing by. It was carrying supplies to a world that had recently suffered a natural disaster. On the side of the ship, someone had painted words in a dozen different languages. The words said, "Still here." Smiled. He had spent his career studying dead worlds, planets that had faced one disaster and given up, species that had seen hard times and simply stopped trying. Humans were different. Humans did not stop, could not stop. Their entire history was a story of refusing to die, no matter how many times the universe tried to kill them. And now they were sharing that gift with everyone else. On Earth, in a small city called, Park's mother sat on her balcony, watching the stars. She was very old now, with wrinkled skin and white hair, but her eyes were still bright. She had lived to see her son become a hero. She had lived to see humanity join the galaxy. She had lived to see things she never imagined possible when she was a young woman. Her grandson, visiting from space, sat beside her. He was half human and half, with skin that sparkled slightly in the moonlight. "Grandmother," he asked, "why do you think humans survived when so many other species did not?" She thought about it for a long moment, then she smiled. "Because we are stubborn," she said. "Because we do not know when to quit. Because every time the world knocked us down, we got angry and got back up again." She looked up at the stars, where her sun was flying somewhere far away. "The universe tried to kill us for millions of years," she said, "and we are still here. We will always be here. That is what it means to be human." Her grandson nodded slowly, understanding. Above them, the stars continued to shine. Some of those stars would explode someday. Some would collapse into black holes. Some would simply fade away. But somewhere out there, humans would be watching, learning, preparing, ready for whatever came next. Because that was what they did. That was what they had always done. That was what they would always do. Survive.